Nobody's facing up to the reality of the history of immigration disaster down there in Latin America, right? Nobody's talking about, well, all they're talking about is build a wall. Build a wall, deny everything, just build a wall. Oh, the Republican wackos are doing it because they're racist, because they're just appealing to their racist members, that is the Republican Party. These white supremacist things, whatnot, like Trump is. And nobody wants, even the Democrats aren't really, mentioning somewhere in there has to be so that you get the understanding of what is this issue? What's going on? Because nobody's looking past that border and looking into Latin America and saying, well, what's going on? Why are all these people desperately coming all the way to America? What happened? Folks, America created this disaster. That's why no one wants to talk about it. It's been a long time in the making by American foreign policy history. That is the disaster that's now coming home to roost. Over and over, you can look through the history. America supported dictatorships throughout Latin America that crushed human rights, freedoms. There wasn't any free press. There wasn't any, open elections or, your access to even to simple things like education and all this stuff. Hell no. It was dictatorship, right-wing, Republican-style dictatorship that had been going on for years down there. And so finally, when the public gets tired of being poor, gets desperate, gets willing to even put their life on the line, they have revolutions. And they've had them over and over again. But America has stepped in over and over again to crush the human rights efforts, labor union efforts, free speech efforts. Oh no. And America has used all sorts of excuses. You've heard them. And you'll hear them on right-wing radio and Fox News, right-wing Fox News, of course, saying, it was the commies. These commies were down there. Why were the commies there? It's because they were when the people had no access, they're being crushed by a dictatorship. And they fully are aware that that dictatorship is supported by America. So suddenly you think when they have a revolution, they're going to say, hey, let's just go around and go to the guy, America, who supported the dictator. No, they're going to look to other system of approach, of government style. And during the 20th century, that alternative was the communisms out of Castro, of Cuba. But there's an example. Cuba. America supported the Batista dictatorship. Batista crushed human rights, killed over 20,000 Cubans, just kill them off for daring to complain about his dictatorship. America supported dictatorship. Here's America telling all of you, oh, we're free. Oh, geez, we're free. We got free. Oh, boy, we're free. We got free. Free land of the free. Oh, gosh, we're free. Free speech. Free. And America, the great hypocrite, is turning around and supporting dictatorships that crush all those freedoms. Batista, Cuba, Somoza, Nicaragua. America overthrows a democratically elected government in Guatemala because the government in Guatemala decided, it was going to give land to Guatemalan citizens instead of American corporations controlling everything of the land to grow what? Bananas. Remember United Fruit Company? Well, they changed their name to Chiapas. The one you hear now. The one they use now. So they can kind of hide away from their past of what they did. Because the United Fruit Company complained to Republican President Eisenhower and said, these Guatemalan government, they want to give land to the Guatemalan people so that the Guatemalan people can grow food, come out of poverty, actually be part of the economy. And that's a threat to American corporations because they wanted everybody in Latin America poor, poverty. That means there's cheap labor for American corporations. You know how it goes here. That's Republican attitude. You hear it here as well. Cheap labor. Cheap labor. Cheap access to the natural resources. And, of course, a dictatorship that will force it to happen. But here in Guatemala, we got a democratically elected government. And the government is saying, we got to get, to build up the economy, to get our people healthier, wealthier. We're going to distribute the land to Guatemalan citizens so they can be part of it. United Fruit Company, American corporation, complained to Eisenhower. Eisenhower sent in the CIA and the military, overthrew the Guatemalan government and put in a military dictatorship that crushed human rights and freedoms and kept the big corporation in control. See, no one wants to talk about the history. No one wants to look at in the history, particularly not Republicans right now, and say, this is the past of why it's happening still to this day throughout Latin America, is because America has created this disaster. Now, what about another big aspect, also not talked about? It's America's stupidity, gross stupidity, folks. Gross stupidity of the Nixon war on drugs. That's right. And it was started by old Nixon. It had been, there had been illegal drug activity, repression before Nixon. But Nixon really escalated it. And he made it international policy, forced it on the international community. Oof, what good is that? That grotesque stupidity of the war on drugs instantly made billionaires out of street gangs and out of criminal cartels. Because they're going to supply it, because there's a market. Yes, there is. There's a market for drugs. People like to get some amount of intoxication and access to it. Well, here comes Nixon. And then subsequently, everyone, Democrat and Republican, has held on to this gross stupidity of a war on drugs. And through Latin America, that became the economy. They can make a lot of cash supplying America with what is now illegal drugs. And since Latin America doesn't have a very broad-based economy, doesn't have this access to a whole bunch of other alternatives, And Latin America does have vast numbers of people. It's overpopulated. And it's overpopulated because of another stupidity of religion. Dark age, ignorant Catholic Church that's been saying no abortion, no birth control for centuries. And there you see, again, reaping what they sow. All throughout Latin America, way overpopulated. There's no broad-based economics that can support all that. People are desperate. There's massive poverty. Well, here comes the drug gang, and you can get a job with the drug gang. All you got to do is kill people. All you got to do is be a thug, defend territory. And you'll get an income. Something's better than nothing. Desperate. And the drug gangs have taken over Latin America. All throughout Latin America. Because the drug gangs have the money. Consistent, big-time cash money. And so the drug gangs, through violence, through bribery, through threats, they run government. They run the police. They run the military. And so, geez, you know, what are you going to do? Oh, gosh, America just turns away from it and says, just drug war. It's drug war. Drugs, oh, geez. And America has made the problem with its foreign policy. With its domestic policy and foreign policy. War on drugs. Grotesque failure, folks. Grotesque failure. There is a market. You don't run it. And that's pretty stupid, because who does run it? Criminal enterprise. Violence, criminality, corruption throughout the society. It's here in America, but it's definitely there in Latin America. So people are saying, why do they come up? Why are they leaving? Here it is, the thing no one talks about. Poverty, created intentionally by American foreign policy that crushed economics development, except controlled it to just that little pocket of the rich, who still control the massive amount of land, as well as all the economic other factors as well. You got the Catholic Church stupidity, which has generated, just like the Christian wackos here in America, trying to say, no birth control. Oh, no abortion, no birth control, no. Well, look at Latin America. If you really don't have birth control, there's what you, America, are going to be like. Overpopulated, economic collapse, poverty. Now throw in there the other disaster, the drug war, failure, fraud. And you got people who are desperate to get the hell out of that whole area because of the threat and violence of the drug gangs, who are saying, hey, you join our drug gang, we're going to kill you. Hey, I like your car. You give me that car, I'm going to kill you. You got in my way. What do you think I am the drug gang. I'm going to kill you. And the threats are like that, endemic, and they are real. Overpopulation, poverty, the stupidity of Nixon's war on drugs. And here they come by the thousands America is reaping what it sowed. So, of course, here's American politicians, in particular right now, Trump criminality, Trump, racist, Trump Republican wackos, and they're saying, don't build a wall. Just build a wall. Stop them. Just don't talk about it. Just build a wall. And there you are. You don't get any resolution that way. You avoid all the issues. Because you have to see how you're going to resolve something if you don't even understand what the history is and what they got you to here. And therefore are you doing the same stuff and that only keeps it going. And, there you go. You got to face the reality of it. And the reality is, one, you got to legalize drugs. Pull the rug out from the control of this market that you've given billions and billions of dollars every year to criminal enterprise. You take that away from them. Wipe it out. You run the business with legal oversight, age access controls, education, responsibility. It's a big deal, but it has to be done because there is a market. You have to run the market. You have to go into and actually pay attention to Latin America instead of abusing and ripping off Latin America, and you have to institute birth control. Which you're going to have to do around the globe anyway, because not just Latin America, but over in Africa and definitely through Asia, you got to have birth control. And the people getting in the way of that, who are trying to stop that, who's trying to stop you from having access to abortion and birth control? Religion. Dumbass, dark age religion. That can't face 21st century reality. It's not inhumane. It's not evil. It's a disaster unfolding. Is to allow just unhindered reproduction. You see it in the animal kingdom. You've seen it through. You're no different. You gotta have birth control. The stupid legacy of the humans would be that all of a sudden, they poison and pollution themselves to death. Humans poison and pollute themselves to death. Gross stupidity right there. Why'd they do it? Well, they had this thing they made up called profit. And profit was more important than life. Profit was more important than reality. They just made it up, And people followed it blindly, right down the tube of extinction. And the other part going to contribute to that extinction is overpopulation. Too many people. Massive poverty. Desperation. Massive sanitation and health problems because of overpopulation. And systems fall apart. But you created it yourself. If you don't do anything about it, if you don't talk about it, if you don't look into it and therefore get the history, at least see where it's coming from, then see, hey, we can't keep going down that road. We got to go somewhere else. Do something else. Because you're looking at it finally with reality instead of religious myth or, the deception of, is it going to make profit? Is it interfering with our profits? That kind of stuff. You got to look at it with reality. And then you can change. Then you can get on changing. You can be clear and focused and get on with change. And it helps everybody. And in Latin America too. Because you then have to pay attention to Latin America as you should have been doing correctly for a long time. But instead, what you're seeing is just America, from its policies and actions about Latin America, from Mexico south, America is reaping what it sowed. Religion, reaping the disaster of overpopulation from what it sowed, from its own philosophy of ignorance. See, no politician is talking about it. Only right here, me, President Mac. And you can see the whole listing on the web, presidentmac.org. And you can see it on, the social media stuff and all that crap. There's a podcast like this. Well, it's the only one who's talking about it. Look at all these political candidates. The Republicans sure aren't talking about it. They want to keep that profit going, rip off Latin America. Cheap labor. That's why they love this illegal immigration coming into the U.S., folks. It got business, and business is mainly Republican. Business was getting cheap labor from these illegal immigrants coming into the U.S. They're willing to work cheap. And they're undocumented and kind of hidden, so you don't have to follow the rules about, how much you pay them, or any of the other related stuff. They're not going to collect unemployment because they're illegal. All that stuff. That's why you had it. Not only are you going down, taking American corporations like they are, and they're down there right across the borders, and they're still paying, a few bucks a day kind of stuff. I give them a few bucks a day, because compared to nothing, a couple dollars a day is okay. And environmentally, they don't have to do anything about environmental concerns. Hell, they can poison and pollute the whole environment and the people who work for them down there because, you got the dictatorship attitude of government that allows it to happen. Doesn't care. Because infested with drug gang money and all that stuff, hell, they just taking the money too. So it can happen both ways, on both sides of the border. The American corporations going down to Latin America and ripping off and exploiting this cheap and vast labor pool, dumping all sorts of crap as they can, using any sort of pesticides and chemicals they want. That's all right. They die, we got plenty more poor people ready to fill in their places. That was the idea. And on the American side of the border, it was all the businesses saying, hey, get your illegal immigrant working for you. And they're cheap. They're cheap. So they make you more money. And once again, you can just throw them away as you need to and get more. America, and then add to it, America's drug war. The gross stupidity of failure there. America is reaping what it sowed with this immigration issue.